Taffy, you ever smash the like button?
All the time, pal.
Real world, if you want to call it real world, because I don't really believe it is, but Tesla just had a AI summit, a meeting, an announcement with their engineers that was widely covered by the Business Channel, because everybody's also interested in what Tesla is going to do next. And they had this this robot that was supposed to be, hyper intelligent, ended up being a dancer in a leotard. But the concept, I guess Musk was saying that they were going to start working on an AI robot, a humanoid robot that would be able to do work as suggested in the opening prologue credits, the crawl on screen of Blade Runner, that would do hazardous, monotonous work that humans don't want to do, right? So where do you think he got that idea? I mean,
to continue on the tangent.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert in Elon Musk, but if you look through the checklist of things that he's done,
yeah,
it seems like his objective is to turn every childhood fantasy he ever had into reality.
I'm pretty sure that Blade Runner is a big influence on that too.
Yeah, and that's
you
not
look at the
necessarily
Cybertruck, and it's like that would have fit in this world.
It would have. Yeah, and the thing is that most science fiction is cautionary. Almost all of it, actually, is cautionary, showing you a potential path that you really don't want to go down, and here's why. It reminds me of there was a short story that I read a few years ago. It was in a collection, and I think the story was originally written in the 50s or early 60s, and it was basically about how he didn't call them this, they were flying robot birds, but they're effectively drones that were used for law enforcement, and all crime was deterred because these things were omnipresent. They're everywhere, and they could impose martial law, death penalty,
attack you with their laser eyes.
Summary judgment could be rendered by these autonomous, basically AI drones.
Yeah.
And in the story, of course, as they always do, they got out of control. So they had to launch additional counter drones to take care of the first batch. And it just escalated and got worse and worse. So, and
Arsenal of Freedom, TNG.
Here's a story when no one had ever considered the concept of a drone. B, artificial intelligence was just complete fantasy at that point. And now these two technologies are coming together where you can have you have some of the biggest names in the world actively warning about autonomous drones. Please don't make them. Don't let this happen. Bill Gates is one of the big voices in this topic, and there are a number of others, all warning people. Basically, have none of you seen science fiction movies before?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the point of this movie, is that the creation comes back and destroys its creator. I mean,
it's Frankenstein.
Spoiler alert, but the idea of that, which I found fascinating, going through my teens and trying questioning everything and questioning the belief systems I had been raised with, and trying to find out what my role is in the universe and what is God and what is not. And so there are all these themes, I think, in this movie where it's like you can look at like these genetic engineers, specifically Tyrell. He's like the father of these androids. He's their creator, literally. So he's like their god, And
it's
so
not every day a man gets to meet his maker.
His maker. Yeah. I mean, it's not subtle. It's expressly stated in this movie. So when Roy confronts him and has to go all the way to the top of the pyramid, right? And I found out later, those buildings were meant to look like pyramids, okay? And the decor inside, when Deckard goes into VK Rachel and he says, "Is that your owl? Is it artificial?" That is all supposed to be Egyptian decor, which I really didn't pay attention to. The lighting is gold, and I love a lot of the lighting effects. It was obvious that they had like pools of water and they were reflecting light off the pools of water, and they do that again in 2049, which is really nice homage. But yeah, it's amazing. And actually the two pyramids are kind of like they're in that arrangement. So like when we see them on screen, we see one in the foreground and one slightly back, and it looks like the Great Pyramid, the two largest of the Great Pyramids. So that's not an accident, right? I mean, the Egyptian mythos, very heavy into death, rebirth, and all the gods and all this kind of stuff. So, I'm sure there's, that was completely intentional. But Roy has to ascend that elevator in order to meet his God, right? And then after he takes care of business and he actually dispatches him, when he's riding the elevator down, Rutger Hauer has this wonderful moment where he's riding down, his camera is shooting up at the stars. Mm-hmm. There's a glass canopy in the elevator. You can see the stars, which I don't think we see stars before this.
It's a very brief shot. And
it's all cloudy and hazy until this happens, right? Yeah. Except for the scene where the sunset is coming through the window when they're VK and Rachel. And the elevator's coming down, and Roy has just committed 2 murders, and he's standing there, and he kind of goes, like he kind of like flexes, like I am powerful, or I don't know, like what have I done? But and he's descending, and there's that motion of descent because the light's flickering, and he's descending into hell, and it's a Faustian kind of moment. It's a damnation of Don Juan.
He lets go of hope at that point because Tyrell has told him that there are no options, and once he kills him, he really there's nothing left for him to strive for, except to avenge Leon,
his brethren,
and the other one, whose name
Zora.
Yeah, he really doesn't care about Leon. It's really Zora, because he never mentions Leon.
Yeah, he doesn't mention. He mentions the ladies. I don't know if that was chivalrous.
No, I think it's because Leon was kind of dense and didn't have. He didn't seem to be sharing the emotional maturity that the others did. And interestingly, Zora is played like a straight up adult. Yeah. Whereas Roy and especially Pris are played as children in adult bodies. They understand some of the human adult world, but they don't completely understand it.
I agree.
You get that sense that they played it like that? I thought Rutger Hauer deliberately played it that way.
I think I know you're right, especially when they're intimate. So when they kiss, it's an odd kiss.
Yeah, it's like they're doing what
off.
They've seen
it's kind of forced, and then and it's like somebody that witnessed a kiss,
right,
and said, "Well, let's try that." You know what I mean? And the whole thing is just artificial, and and it's wonderful acting.
Because Roy's not. So if the movie were made today, he would be just evil homicidal robot. But it's a much more subtle portrayal than that. It's a being who's trying to come to terms with what he is, and he's of course got this desire for more life so that he could learn more, and struggling with the fact that he's not going to get it. So I thought it was a very complex portrayal that really held up extremely well, because it would be easy to mess that up.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about the level of intelligence. So we get to see at one point their like kind of levels. It'll say, when Deckard is in the office with Bryant and they're going through the files of the renegade robots, we get to see mental level A, physical level A, and that's Roy. And then we get to see Leon, and he's like mental level C, physical level A, and we get to see Pris, and she's like mental level B, you know what I mean?
Basic
and it's
pleasure
like,
model.
Yeah, your basic pleasure model. And and Zora's Beauty and the Beast, and she can kick your butt and she can be a pleasure model at the same time. So it's like, it's very okay. So, and the other thing we find out is their incept dates. We find out their birthdays, right? So at the beginning, we see the crawl, and it tells us about the replicants, and they're made for off-world, colonies and hard labor slaves, basically. And it actually says the word slave. But then we see the city, And Los Angeles, November
Yeah.
2019.
It gives the month?
Why does it give the month?
I have no idea. It does. I mean, there's nothing happening in the background that relates to anything that we know of in this world, that a date, a season, a time, a holiday, nothing.
So I'm thinking a couple things. I'm thinking November, the calendar year is about to expire. Their lives are about to expire.
Right.
If we look closely at Roy's, and I'm sorry, I've gone over this movie so many times that a lot of this is fine tooth comb stuff, and it's not something anybody would probably get on the first go. But January of 2016 is Roy's birthday. So he's sometime in January. So he's going to die in a couple months anyway. Like if it's an exactly 4-year lifespan,
no,
then he only has a couple months left.
It can't be exactly 4 years, because he seems to die a natural death on the rooftop.
I agree. So I think it's approximately 4 years.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying though is, if Roy knows when his incept date is, then he knows that his time is running out really fast.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
And we would know, it was a clue to anybody that would look, that November, January. So it's going to be,
that would be asking a lot for an audience to pick up on that. But if you've seen it multiple times, it makes complete sense.
I think it's one of those things that a director does. Scott loves those kinds of details. He loves putting those little Easter eggs in there. That's what we call them now. I don't think they called them that then, but like, that kind of stuff, just to have that level of completeness to his world,